Do you struggle with estimating project size, time and cost for something new like your data analytics initiative, migrating workloads, or AI initiatives? Well, I want to introduce you to something I observe as a IT systems integrator. I'm calling the seesaw paradox. So let me take you through why this is a problem and what we can do and how we help customers try and balance things out. Hi, my name is Peter, and I work in the Australian IT market, have done for over 20 years, and I help organisations these days with their needs around data, analytics and AI, particularly in the Microsoft space, and getting them using and adopting technologies for their business. If you like what you see in this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for further updates. So, the problem that I see often, not all the time, but often, is that where you get asked to help understand and size up a project. And that's really what I do a lot of my time, a lot of my day, is help organizations understand, well, how much effort it's going to take to get this particular outcome, whether they are doing it themselves or they're engaging our organization to assist. And so I've got a lot of experience with estimating, but sometimes just thinking about this out loud, like I'm doing in this video, allows me to then help convey things that do work really well and things that don't. And this is an example of where things don't work so well because there's a mismanagement of expectations. And that could be on the organization, or what we'll call the client side. Sometimes it's on our side, the system integrator. And so it's really this balancing effect, which is why I'm calling this the seesaw paradox. So imagine a seesaw where we want to balance a set of requests or requirements coming from a customer. So I'll just put that as a box, the letter C, and I'll put in over here, I'll call this the system integrator, for example. Now, when we can understand or agree that the size of the problem and the complexity for that is aligned to the way we need to deliver that, everything's good. Sometimes there'll be a healthy sort of, not necessarily a perfect balance, but a range of time. Let's use, say, time estimate in, for example, months. So say the customer thinks, or doesn't quite understand, or maybe they think it's sort of a 1 to 2 month mark, and sometimes we sort of get to the same point, and we know there's be some variability. Generally, we have a good time on the seesaw, we'll get that outcome that's achieved. But what happens when there's an imbalance in that? So let's reimagine our seesaw. I'll do it down here. And this case, we're going to tip it this way. So as it stands, where the customer has a project they want to get done, and they already have done an estimation of what they think it'll take. And in this case, I use a real example, 3 to 6 months. Now, based on some information we've got, what we find is we actually think this is closer to 12 to 18 months. And what makes it even harder is when we have a lot of the time, unfortunately, and sometimes it's in sort of formal tendering processes, we don't have the luxury or the opportunity to have access to information, nor is it able to be supplied in a whether it's made available or in a timely fashion. The problem is there's a black box over this, so we can't actually see the size and shape of that. We can make some guesses based on the dimensions of that box, for example, to give us a sense, but sometimes there is a very clear imbalance where that's not happening. If there's a black box on something that's got some some definitions, generally that will line up. But in some cases, there's a real misunderstanding on what a project should take from one perspective versus another. And the converse can also happen. So we also have I'll draw it up here. Sometimes the customer will think something is quite simple, quite more difficult, and it's probably a good position for the customer to be in where we think, oh, it's actually take less time. So we might in this case go, oh, this is a 3 to 6 month project. And they might go, this is a 12 to 18 months using those similar timeframes. And that creates the opposite imbalance where a customer may not think we understand their problem well enough. They go, you've actually really, undercooked it, and therefore they look for people aligned with their biases. So this is a very interesting field to understand how these things, how people play out and things work. And there's lots of research and study. I'm not going to be able to go into all of it in this video, but maybe future ones as well. But one of the things, I guess, that helps us get this balance and understand what it does, that is a big first step, is let's try and figure out what's this whole thing look like. Let's actually, let's do a discovery, right? Let's actually look under this box here and do a discovery. And sometimes we'll plan and do design and things like that. But often a discovery has a lower entry point in terms of time and cost. And it's a good way to actually get into the detail that's needed to do that. Now, when we do that, we use another principle called the Iceberg Principle. I think that's its kind of name. I think you may be familiar with this. So you imagine you've got an iceberg on the surface, doesn't look like much, but under the waterline, there's a range of things in here. So again, taking from a real example, they've got an idea on the quantity of data. They've got an idea on some of the using data marts or data warehouses that might be in here, and then the number of reports, and that's so useful, right? And that helps us with some parametric modeling that allows us to kind of go, we think this is about the size that it might need to be. But there's a lot of things under here as well. There might be things around quality, right? There might be technical debt that actually creates more issues when we think about migrating, for example, having to refactoring that might be required because you're moving a platform. There might be additional design that's required, might be additional governance, might be security, might be compliance requirements that aren't made aware of, but needs to comply with something that's needed in their industry. There's a range of things, and it's very hard to just get all this, particularly in these really limited views of a project in such a formal way. But when we do this, take the discovery approach, we can see more of what's under this iceberg and look down and see, well, once we understand what some of these other requirements are, then we can have a conversation around, right, is this correct, right, or is this correct, and get to a harmonizing piece where we are both on the same page, or at least balanced enough that makes sense for everyone. And so discovery is certainly is probably the best way to get understanding when there's particularly differences in expectations. So there you go. This is I said, calling it the seesaw paradox, where sometimes these are imbalanced when expectations are not right, but things like a discovery and doing that, sometimes they're simple, sometimes it requires time and specialists to do that work. But that's a really efficient way to get past these alignment issues to something that works for everyone. I hope you found this useful. If you did like it, please hit that like button on the video below, and be sure to subscribe for any further updates. And I'll see you next time.